Hello, everyone. Another exciting edition here of the Encounter VlogCast right here on the JP Ward Encounter YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. Email me with questions at jpwordering@gmail.com. As always, I use Filmmaker Pro for all my videos here on the JP Ward Encounter. Filmmaker Pro was recommended to me by the good folks over at the Markout Nation podcast. They actually had me on one time, but the clip they have on their page, actually the link to their channels in my subscription, so check them out. And they had me on one time, and they only used like a minute and a half worth of our interview on the links on their YouTube page. But I think they actually have like a hosting site for all their podcasts. They told me they had over 50 recorded. It's basically like a bunch of guys sitting in a room and they like review Raw and they talk about wrestling gossip and do little gimmicks of their own and stuff. I thought that was cool. They had a couple local indie guys local to the Northeast on, and they cut up a bunch of clips and put it on YouTube. And I was one of those clips, and the program that they used just happened to be Filmmaker Pro. So I started using that, and good group of guys. Check them out. But yeah, I wanted to do like a lighthearted vlogcast right now. I guess about pro wrestling or the state of pro wrestling as it is today. I think it gets a lot of shit. I think a lot of the old timers are pissed off. I think a lot of the cool kids that were around between 97 and say like 2002, 2003 have left the party and are not coming back. And I think instead of building off of what the wrestling business has left, they're trying to get the cool kids to come back. And the cool kids are now watching mainstream sports and they're all into politics and, you know, podcasts about how cool wrestling used to be and how much it sucks now. And in their opinion, I think wrestling's okay. I like high spots. I'm a big high spot guy. One of my top favorite wrestlers of all time is Rey Mysterio. So, I mean, I guess I couldn't be a huge fan of Mr. Gantas if I didn't like high spots, you know. The matches he had with Psychosis and Juventud back in ECW 95 were what turned me on to Lucha. And then eventually, you know, there were other hot spot guys came along, but he was always my favorite. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Ricochet, huge fan of Ali, huge fan of Sammy Guevara. I was a huge fan of Amazing Red back in the day. Justin Gabriel. I'm a big fan of Will Ospreay. The Bucks are okay. I think they're still pretty indie, if you ask me. I like Pentagon Jr. I think he's really cool. I think Ray Phoenix is really cool. I think there's a couple guys, you know, like Humberto in WWE is really cool. Obviously, Dominic's coming up. But a lot of people were pissed off about the Roman win at WrestleMania. And, you know, not to get inside baseball when I talk to people like that, but it was like, what other heels are they? What other heels are there? He's the only monster heel in all of professional wrestling all over the world. Think about that. He's the only heel. He's the only monster heel. Brock Lesnar's not around anymore. You know, even if John Cena was up for the job, you know, he doesn't look the same anymore. You know, they just basically killed the Bray Wyatt character. You know what I mean? What monster heels are in AEW? What monster heels are in TNA? What monster heels are in Ring of Honor? What monster heels are in Europe? What monster heels are in Japan or in Mexico? And that's not to say that there aren't bad guy wrestlers, Because there are. Everybody knows there are. But you're talking that big monster heel in the forefront of everything. Roman's the guy. I liked him as a face. I like him as a heel. I like him even more as a monster heel with Heyman. I don't know. It's going to take a lot. And right now, there's nobody really on the radar that can be that new, sensation. Even if they turn Roman face within the next 2 years and he's this big face, I mean, who's he going to work against? You're going to have like this revolt of all like the non WWE wrestling companies like come in and like do like a legitimate retribution angle where like, Sammy Guevara and Okada and, guys like Will Ospreay and Omega and, guys like Rich Swann and freaking, the rednecks there from Ring of Honor like come in and just, you have this like all out brawl like you did back in 2001, 2002 with the invasion. You're going to have another invasion angle. This time it's going to be like, WWE versus the rest of the world and have like this big, invasion schmaz thing. And, whoever's left standing or whoever's left, whoever's over is who they keep. And you start over again. You change the name of the company, you change the name of the wrestlers, and you kind of just do the whole thing all over again. But even with that, I mean, the only person that made out with that was Kurt Angle, and John Cena, pretty much, right? I mean, yeah, Randy Orton's a big star, but I mean, he's not a John Cena. The whole angle, the whole, working angle was based off of Kurt Angle being the hero of the day, right? With the whole milk and all that stuff, like, But again, the same time that all the cool kids left the party. So, and they never came back and they never will come back. So now you got to rebuild this whole audience all over again that has pretty much walked away. I mean, you'll always get your hardcores. Your hardcores aren't going anywhere. But that only makes up, 15% of your audience or your potential audience because they're going to watch no matter what. I have a friend that watches wrestling. He just watches wrestling. If you have a criticism of the WWE or Ring of Honor or Japan or AEW or TNA or anything like that or MLW, he'll be an apologist for wrestling itself, pro wrestling itself. It's not like he is loyal to one company or a guy or a product or a style or anything. He just is a general fan of professional wrestling. And for a long time I used to get frustrated, but then I was like, well, if soccer's on TV, if it's adult males playing soccer on TV, whether it's the MLS or Premier League or the Mediterranean League or South American League, or even stuff out of Africa or Japan or whatever, I'm going to watch it because I'm a fan of soccer. And most of the time, if there's a baseball game on TV, I don't do cable. So if I have, if there's a network, broadcast network production of a baseball game or a soccer game, I'm going to watch it because I'm a general fan of soccer and baseball. I just like to watch the game. And my friend, who is a general fan of pro wrestling, likes to watch pro wrestling. He'll watch pro wrestling anywhere, anytime, on his free time, in the car ride to work or at home or with his friends or whoever. He just wants to watch pro wrestling. And there is an audience for that. There is a market capture for that. The problem is, it's very small, and you don't want that to just be your only base. You know what I mean? Like, you want, like, that hardcore Americana mainstream audience, big, you want to do big numbers, 9, 10s, 11s on your TV shows, not, 750,000 or a million or 1.2 million, because that's nothing. I mean, TV's dwindling down anyway because, quite frankly, they've been overdoing it with the commercials. And it's the same way with radio. I mean, you play two songs and then you got 15 minutes of commercials. I mean, that's the downfall of television radio is the commercials. Now the pay-per-views are 10 hours long. But it's tough because, WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it, the McMahons, they're the Crocs, and WWE is the new McDonald's. It's just kind of always been there, and it just kind of always will be. It doesn't really have to be good. It doesn't really have to be much of anything. It just has to be WWE. Nobody likes McDonald's, really. I mean, you might have, again, your diehards that have an Egg McMuffin every morning and a coffee and a Big Mac at 3 o'clock every day. But, McDonald's only exists because it's McDonald's. It's the same thing with Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live is the most expensive show to produce in all of television. And the only reason why it still exists is because it's become an American icon. It's the McDonald's of comedy. WWE is the McDonald's of professional wrestling. They have a $14 billion budget. TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW, AAA, CMML, and all those companies in Europe don't have a $14 billion budget. WWE does. So they kind of call the shots. And unless they sell the company, which I doubt they're going to do, a lot of people think that, what's that guy's name, Nick Khan, is kind of there to settle, is to, square up the deal with NBC, Universal and Comcast to sell the company to Comcast and NBC Universal. But I kind of doubt it because that's kind of, Vince's, project. I mean, he's a business guy, so he doesn't look at it as a baby. He looks at it as a business. And, if the price was right, he would do it. If not him, then Stephanie and Triple H and Shane. But, I digressed a little bit there. But, I mean, I'm just saying, wrestling will always be wrestling. Two guys in a ring pretending to beat each other up, right? There's really only one way to do it. And that's a couple guys in a ring pretending to beat each other up in their underpants. And you either get that at the core of it, you either get that's what it is and you accept it and you don't care because you just like the shit. It's funny, it's sexy, it's violent, it's entertaining, it's a fantasy in many ways. And you either like that or you don't. You either like baseball or you don't. You either like soccer or you don't. Some people like hockey, but they hate baseball. It's really not that big of a deal. I would prefer, and I'll close with this, I think it would be really cool if somebody came along again, like an Austin or a Rock. Probably not so much a John Cena because it was just for little kids and girls, so it didn't really cater to the mass audience, and it was kind of a lame time in pro wrestling with the John Cena Triple H show, and I think that's what kind of killed the mainstream business, and like I said, the cool kids left the party because of John Cena and Triple H, but and they're not coming back again. Like I've said, we got to find a new guy, and hopefully we can get a new crowd to come into the party and have a good show once again.